Hello ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Welcome back, Force here, and today we'll be taking a look at Blackguards. This is a turn-based RPG with a very dark and gritty story. The game's currently in the beta testing process. It's actually going through Steam's early access program. It's something you can spend money on right now, so I thought it warranted giving the game a look. I'm also fairly interested in what I've seen so far, and I've spent a little bit over an hour with the game so far, and at this point, I'm just going to give you sort of a basic introduction. I'd like to show you some of the combat and also take a look briefly at sort of the progression system, towns, things of that nature. I'm going to try to keep this video reasonable though, somewhere probably between 20 and 30 minutes. So the first thing we're looking at here is a side quest in which we're trying to go to this battlefield
we should look for crates
and get
That's
sweet
where
gear.
We're most likely to find something useful.
Look at that, Draco. Grave robbers.
Just like us, methinks.
This is our battlefield.
Methinks they don't want to leave.
Methinks. Just shoot them in the head.
So you can see a little bit of dialogue there. This game really does a good job of progressing the story, which is, again, so far, it's been pretty dark, and I found it relatively interesting. Essentially what happens is you start off with your main character, which is this guy right here with a mohawk. You can choose whatever character you want. I decided to go with a warrior, and you're being accused of murdering a princess, and then you're thrown in jail, and then these two guys help you escape jail, and now you're just sort of going from there, trying to figure out what to do next. So let's talk about the gameplay itself. Once again, this is a turn-based RPG. Now you're going to notice at the bottom there is an order of attack. So I've got my ally here. This is my mage guy right back there. I've got sort of like a fury warrior or whatever, and then a tanky warrior right here. So first the mage guy is going to go, then two of the opponents are going to go. Actually, three of the opponents are going to go. And then my last two guys, my tanky warrior and my fury warrior. And then lastly, that person goes, and then it's the end of the turn, and we start all over again. So first things first, I get again to move with my little mage dude here, and I'm going to go ahead and move him up. Behind the cover, there is a cover system. As you move from cover to cover, there is no indication, like XCOM Enemy Unknown, for example, and a lot of games like this, they'll show like a shield to show you if you're fully covered or partially covered. There's nothing like that in this game. In fact, I remember from the tutorial, if I read it correctly, that your cover is also dependent on like the height of your character. So some objects, say a dwarf, can hide behind, whereas a tall humanoid character won't have that much cover as someone who's shorter. At least that's what I think it said, if I even read it correctly. Okay, so I'm gonna move these guys up. Now I can't move up and do an attack on this guy. Can I? Can I really? No, I didn't think so. He's too far. Yeah, you can only do, I was like, what? That doesn't seem right. So you're only going to be able to attack within this first movement range, and then you can essentially, what's a sprint, but you won't be able to follow that up with an action. So we're just going to go ahead and move to right here. There's a couple of other things we could do from this point, so we could still attack within this radius, but again, there's no one within attack range, so we're just going to end his turn, and then I'm going to go ahead and move this guy right over here. Now you notice I decided not to keep these guys behind cover. I'm moving them in a forward position to try to protect this guy a little bit. But then also, since these archers are so far away, the chance of them hitting my guys is greatly diminished, so I'm not too concerned with that. You will notice up top here, there appears to be what you could use for hotkeys, but I have not found a way to do that. I've been trying to fiddle around with things, and I don't recall seeing anything about it in the tutorial, so I'm honestly not entirely sure how to set these up. But anyways, the way we interact is you can simply right-click on a character to attack them with your basic melee attack. But then if you, I'm sorry, left-click. But then if you right-click, you're going to bring up this radio, which has all sorts of different options. And they're not just combat-based. There's some environmental-based stuff. There's also perception, which I haven't had to use at this point, but it appears to be that's a way to detect things like traps or hidden objects. So we've got different types of basic attacks. Now with this character that we have at the moment, he's got access to a few different magic attacks. There's offensive, defensive, and then there's ally buffs, and then enemy debuffs. So what I'm going to be doing here is he is the mage, and I've spec'd him primarily, so far I've spent his points into this specific fireball. It's a single target. It uses up, it looks like this is 12 magic points or ASP. I think they're called astral points or something. And it's going to do 8 to 18 damage and has an 82% chance to hit that guy. Let me see if it's a different percent chance. Actually, can you even hit this thing? Yeah, it looks like that's the same. But we're gonna go for this guy right here. I'm gonna go ahead and cast this. And again, this is my basic single target fireball. And let's see if that hits. It does, excellent. Ended up doing 13 damage. You'll notice a little fire there on the ground as well, which is just a nice little animation effect. And then the enemies get to go. Again, the attack orders, all of them represented down here at the bottom. Okay, so now it's time for my two guys. I've got this enemy right in front of me. This is my tanky melee character. So I'm gonna go ahead and right click. If I left clicked, it would just do a basic attack. I don't want to do that. So we're gonna right click here. And in terms of him, we only got two things. We've got the regular attack, a simple stroke, or we've got this power blow. So it's going to do increased damage. However, it's less likely to hit. It reduces your chance to hit. But most of the time, it seems like it's been working, at least early on in the game. I'm assuming later on when we face enemies with more armor and who are wearing shields and things like that, that's gonna, you know, the percent chance to hit is less. Okay, so we got 95% chance to go for this guy, and we've got a couple of choices. I'm actually dual wielding. He's got a two-handed attack though, a regular attack with two weapons. So I could do that since I'm holding two weapons at the moment, or I could just go with the power blow. We're gonna go, since I'm holding two weapons, we're gonna go with this one. Oh, it's kind of worded weirdly. Like two-handed attack, I assume an attack with a two-handed weapon, but then it says regular attack with two weapons. So anyways, whatever. We're gonna go ahead and do that. That ended up doing 9 damage. That's pretty nice. Now the archers get to move, that's fantastic. Okay, so you've seen a basic round of combat, you've seen my mage and my two warriors engage the enemy. Now what I'd like to do though is show you a little bit of the environmental stuff. So if I hold down V, this is supposed to be a big part of this game. There are objects within the environment that you can interact with. Now there are things like, you know, there are crates that you can set on fire, and if enemies are standing next to it, they're gonna be set ablaze. There's also, in this particular map, we can't rotate the camera, but we can move it like to a over the top or bird's eye view like this. In this particular map, and he talked about it at the very beginning as soon as we entered in here, there are these chests that we can open up. And by opening up these chests, we're going to get the loot that's within inside them once the mission is over. Now, I read on the forums because I wasn't sure, but it's not the case where if I eliminate all the enemies, I just get all of the chest. You need to physically open the chest to get what's in them at the end of the round. If you don't, and if you kill the last enemy, the thing just ends and you don't get access to all the chest. I think that is kind of stupid, to be honest with you. I feel like you eliminate all the enemies by default, you should just get all of the treasure that's in that area when there are situations like this. But, you know, I'm assuming this is intentional design and they've decided to go for it this way. So for that reason, I'm probably going to be using a lot of the mage's turns and using him to open up these chests here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and move my mage over here now, and so that during his next turn, he can open up that chest and we'll be able to get the loot from that. Once this whole thing is over. Okay, and then these guys right here. So yeah, I'm gonna actually have, okay, it's this guy, so we're gonna have him go with a power blow. I pretty much almost always use a power blow unless something's almost dead, like right now, he only has 3 health left. So I'm just gonna get a better percent chance to hit. Oh, why is it both 95? This is supposed to, oh no, that's the, okay, this one's the, okay, so we're gonna use this one. Because this one has, the two-handed attack actually has the same percent chance to hit, so we're just gonna go with that for our dwarf character. And then now it's this guy. You'll notice the one that just popped up above his head, that's one of his astral points. Again, I think that's what it's called. Where's the, astral energy, yeah, so that's what it is. So what he regenerates one of them a turn, and the way it works with these casters, it appears to be, you can drain your mana. I'll call it from now on. I don't want to call it astral points anymore. You can drain your mana very, very quickly, and the only way to regenerate it is by using a potion. And if you don't have a potion on the character, then you can't regenerate it. So it makes it so that you have to be wary about how you're using it. And, you know, maybe there's something I haven't, again, this is just an introduction. There might be another way to regenerate it, like maybe a spell or something, but I haven't seen that yet. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and open up this chest. There we go. And then now we're gonna get that once this whole thing is over. Okay, so we're gonna start to make our way closer towards these guys, but I'd like to make sure we maintain cover. So I'm gonna move this guy here, and he is gonna be behind a little bit of cover in this situation. And then we're gonna move this guy over here. So while it is unfortunate that we can't rotate around the battlefield, I do like that we have at least this. We can go to sort of the overhead bird's eye view, which is pretty good. All right, so this guy, I'm gonna get him in a position to start going towards the next chest. We can also do things like break down these crates, and that is used to like block paths, for example. So I think, let me test this just so I can show you. I'm gonna break this down, see what happens. Okay, that did not work exactly. Maybe it's these ones that are. I know that some of the environment objects will block paths, but I think that one that I just blew up is just something that you can catch on fire. So it didn't end up working the way I had hoped it would. Anyways, we got a battle down over here, so we're gonna go ahead and engage with this. A nice little 10 damage hit. And then we're gonna go ahead and flank him. Now this guy can't escape. He's literally stuck in his current position. So we're gonna be able to easily dispatch of him, and then we'll move on to the next guy. Before we kill him though, I do want to make sure that we are opening up all these chests like I mentioned, because I want full loot. So we're just gonna move that there. And then we will go ahead and engage with this dude. He is just about dead. We finish him off with a basic attack like this, and bravo. Okay, so before we kill this guy, I'm gonna make sure we open up all these chests. So we'll go over here, open this one. And then this guy, what is it gonna do? I guess I'll, crapola. We're just gonna move him over here for now. So this is why I think this system is stupid, because look at what I'm forced to do to get the maximum amount of treasure on this map. I'm forced to not engage with this last guy and just run around in circles. I just don't like that. I don't, it's obviously not, it's not ideal, you know? All right, I don't think I can hit this guy from here. Can I really? Wow, I can, nice. There's a fireball. I did that because I'm assuming I'm gonna be able to open up, yeah, let's go with an attack. I'm just gonna go with a basic though, so it doesn't do as much damage. There we go. We're all set. Okay, so we're gonna open up that. And then she is at 8 health. I'm not gonna use his, let me try setting a barrel on fire. Let's see if this ends up working out. I'll launch this thing over here, see what happens. There you go. So you got a barrel on fire. So if there were enemies around there, they would presumably take some damage from that. And then this guy, I don't want to do enough. I'm not sure if that would kill, so I'm not going to engage it. Gonna pick up our last chest here. And then now we can finally kill the last enemy. Now that we've bypassed the stupid mechanic of having to actually physically open all these chests in order for it to count. It's stupid for the reason that you just saw. Okay, so there you go. We have killed all the enemies. We got to take a look at some of that turn-based combat. Pretty early on, obviously, pretty simplistic. But look at all the sweet loot we got thanks to opening up all these chests. This is everything we picked up just from this one map. We got ourselves a belt, which allows you to carry potions on your characters. I got a bunch of different weapons, some nice armor as well. So we're gonna go ahead and take all. And then we will be brought back to the map, and that's that. We went to the battlefield, we killed all the enemies, fantastic. So we got a couple choices. We can go back to town, or there is another thing over here. Before we do either one of those, though, let's take a look at some of the progression and the item system. So let's go ahead and start off with the items. So this is my current inventory. We can filter through everything that I have at the moment. You can also, there are these filters up here where you can show just weapons, show just armor, show just items, and then you can deselect them just like that if you so desire. So good way to filter through the stuff that you have. And then we've got our 3 characters. So we've got this guy right here. So this is my tanky character. This is my berserker style warrior. And then this is my mage. He's got a shield because I just haven't found a staff for him yet. So all sorts of different things here. I've got some spears, rusted swords. There's a bunch of tweeting going on in the background. It's really loud. Okay, so we've got a bunch of shields again, a bunch of different weapons. We can equip these to our characters. The only things that I don't have equipped so far are the helm slot, and I actually haven't put any belts on any guys yet. I'm gonna go to my main character. This is the one that I focus on the most, and then we're going to go ahead and put this belt on him, and then that allows us to put items in his inventory here. So we put those items right there in his inventory. So what is this that we just put in here? This is a weak healing potion, and then we could also put provisions. Vitality points, okay, so we could put some provisions down for that. We can't? Okay, I guess we can't. I thought we could have done that. We could give him some stuff to restore astral points, but that's stupid because he doesn't even use astral points. But there you go, that's an example. You can put a belt, let you equip things for quick use. There's also multiple weapon sets, so if you like to have multiple weapons, for example, we've got this guy here with a shield and sword, And we could go ahead and put, is this a two-handed sword or is this? No, it's not. I don't know if we have any two-handed swords. Is this buckler greater? Oh, this looks pretty good. It weighs less too. We're gonna actually go ahead and equip this. And then we've got a bunch of, but yeah, you can, oh, here we go. These are two-handed. So we could go to weapon set 2 here, and we could go ahead and give him one of our two-handed weapons. So we're able to switch between these different weapon sets while we're on the battlefield. Now, you're going to specialize the way you spec your character, so I feel like a lot of times those multiple weapon sets won't make a lot of sense unless we come across magical weapons with special enchantments that are good against certain enemies or something like that. But for example, I'm specializing in this guy with swords, so I primarily want to be using swords. If it's not a sword, I lose the benefit of all of the special points that I've invested in that character. So I'm not going to go ahead and equip all of these, but I just sort of wanted to show you the inventory and equipment area. And the next thing I'd like to show you here, this is the progression. Little complex, you just get thrown right into it. Basically, you get these AP points just by engaging in combat. You fight enemies, you get AP points. You'll notice each one of these guys, they have a different number. I think it's based on either the damage you do or the kills or something along those lines, but you fight the enemies, you get AP points, and then you use these AP points to level up everything. You use it to level up your base stats, you use it to level up weapon talents, you use it to level up specific talents like body control, willpower, perception, treat wounds, all sorts of stuff, and you also use it to level up spells. It's kind of crazy. Let me go over here, I can show you that. So yeah, for this guy, for example, this one resource system used to level up everything, and it looks like you can just do whatever. Like if I wanted on my mage guy to just pump up his specialization to axes and maces, I can totally do that. Now, I obviously don't want to do that, so we're going to cancel those changes. But yeah, I was just sort of thrown right into this, and I'm like, wait, what? So what should I be spending points in? I guess I'm so used in many RPG systems to having separate resources for separate things. Like you've got... So you level up and then you can choose, okay, you've got 5, just as an example, in a lot of other RPGs, you level up and you've got 5 points you can spend in your base values, okay? And then you've got 1 talent point. So you spend a talent point, you level up your base values, fantastic. But here you have to make the decision in terms of where you want to spend the points. And while this is cool and in-depth and complex, I feel like what this is going to force a lot of, and this is great for some people, but I feel like the situation this is going to force is if you're going to want a strong group, you're probably going to want to research online what the best thing to be doing is. Like, it could very well be the case that it is completely stupid to spend any of your points in your base values, and you just should spend all of your points for your melee characters in your weapon talents, and all of your points for your casters in your spells, because it'll just be so potent, you'll be like one-shotting enemies, and it won't even matter if your base values are garbage. That's obviously probably not the case, but just as an example, I feel like with this situation, the way that it's set up right now, it's definitely going to force people to go outside of the game to try to figure out how to not fail at this game because of the way the system's set up. But that's not a complaint, just an observation and a comparison to sort of the way other RPGs function. But yeah, like I said, you engage in combat, you get these points, and then use those points to level up every aspect of your character. And that's that. A bunch of different spells that you can get. You can also, learn these spells. Like I can learn some spells on my melee characters as well. I need to go to a town or find a spell book to learn them. And then my mage, he just started off with these base spells that we can level up. But if I found a spell book with, the fireball or whatever, this Wrath of Elements, I could give this to my warrior and I could start spending points on it in my warrior. So that's all of that. Basically to sum it all up, it's going to be great for people who love customization and crazy in-depth things, but it's also for sort of a basic player who doesn't spend a ton of time researching this stuff. It's probably just going to be more confusing than anything else. But that's that. That is the character sheet. That's the whole progression system. We saw some combat. We took a look at the inventory. The last thing I'd like to show you is the towns. So you'll notice this map, and we've got all these towns dotted along the trail. As you come into a town, there'll be various things that you can do. So there'll be enemies, there'll be NPCs that you can speak with, and they'll give you side quests. There's a healer, you can heal up any of your guys who are injured. There's also going to be an innkeeper, and sleeping at the inn is great because it's going to rest up your mana and everything. So we're gonna go ahead and rest up, and then look at that, we got full health, full mana back, so not even needing to use the healer. There'll also be merchants, and you can You can go to the merchants here, and you can... Where do we go? There we
What
go.
do you have to offer?
Go to the merchants to purchase different equipment and stuff. So again, we can filter through what we want to look for or not. And also, when you move from town to town, it didn't happen this time because this is a town that already went through in the story. But every time you come to a new town, there'll be sort of a cutscene with dialogue that takes place while you'll be talking to various NPCs. In fact, the first time I talked to every single one of these NPCs in this town, there was a back and forth dialogue that progressed the story. But again, I'm revisiting, so that's not happening this time. And that is that. I think that's pretty much everything. I just wanted to give you a basic introduction, show you some combat, show you the progression system, and talk about the towns. And that'll wrap it up. So I'm going to keep playing this game. I find it pretty interesting. The combat system is fun, although it seems a little slower paced than I ideally would like, especially with things like opening up those crates. But I still think it's pretty neat. And I love things like, I just love, there's a lot of, I like the way the game looks visually. I like this overworld map too. I know that's just a strange thing to mention, but there's just a lot of things that I find pretty endearing about this game. So I'm going to keep playing it, and I'll give you guys some further in-depth impressions as I make my way further through the game. There's only so much available right now in the early access. In fact, right now, only the first chapter is available. There's supposed to be 5 chapters, and those are going to roll out between now and the end of January. So if you buy your way into the early access now, realize you just have the first chapter. Second chapter is supposed to be coming at the end of this month, though, so, you know, pretty soon. And yeah, that's it. It's available now in Steam's Early Access for $24.99. If you liked what you saw, definitely give it a look. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Once again, this has been Forrest checking out Blackguards. If you like the content, please subscribe, keep watching, and keep owning.